Kelly Bowler, head coach at Johns Creek. He's joining us now. And so it's an opportunity to catch up with Kelly. And, sir, if you would be so kind.
Yes, sir.
Where is your trophy?
Hasn't left my side.
Because we've had coaches on this morning. Johnny Jackson had a moment of, oh my gosh, where is it? Because all the players had it after they won for Blessed Trinity, and he kind of lost mental track of it.
Yeah.
Next morning, he's like, "Where is it?" And when his assistant told him, "Oh, with the AD in his office," then all the color returned to Johnny's face. Both the Thomasville trophies are in Robert Peterson's office.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to think of where Jose Rodriguez over at Meadow Creek. He was staring at his trophy when he was talking to us batting leadoff this morning. So it has not left your side the entire time.
No, it is not. And I kept my eye on it throughout the whole celebration to make sure nobody dropped it or anything like that. The thing is precious to me. So I wouldn't let them harm it. So,
did you sleep in the next day?
I didn't sleep for 36 hours at least.
Really?
Yeah, I was pretty wound up. So I was wide awake. I was laying on the couch at about 6 a.m. watching TV still, and decided I'd get up and bring bagels for my whole department at school because they all showed up to the state championship game. So just still riding the high a little bit.
How many times have you seen the match after it was over? How many times have you watched the whole thing?
Probably twice. I love listening to your guys' call of everything. Jason and Maddie did a great job that day. And so, I don't know, it was a pleasure to watch. Some moments in there were a little bit scarier than others, but, for the most part, I felt like we dominated that game, and I was pretty happy with it.
I was going to ask, were you picking up things in the replays that you didn't pick up in real time when you're watching it for the second and the third time? Did you realize?
I think I didn't realize how much, I guess, we probably dominated in the first half. That was like we really controlled the game in the first half. We missed a couple of absolute sitters in the second half, right at the start, and one a little bit later in the half that I thought really could have blown the game open for us and made things a little bit more comfortable. Another thing I was very impressed with, our back line was excellent in the game. And so sometimes that goes overlooked, in the moment of the game, like noticing stuff defensively. And I also thought our sophomore that came off the bench, Caden Carey, every time I watched that back, he had just a phenomenal game off the bench. He was just dominating when he got out there. So I think those were things I picked up on after the game.
When everything is over and postseason rankings, national rankings are what they are, how difficult is it to finish the season as the top ranked team in the country?
Well, so we're number one on Max Preps and
right.
number one on United Soccer Coaches as well. Obviously we've had teams chasing us down. I think the most difficult thing is you get this lead and then Tennessee and South Carolina are still playing. So Wando in South Carolina might catch us. I don't know. They still got a semifinal and a final. I was looking this morning. But they are 4 points behind us. So it'd be a lot to make up. I don't know how much ground you can make up, in 2 games, but, if we finish number one nationally, I'm claiming a national championship. That's for sure.
Hey.
So, I'm going to have another trophy made,
get that and a banner and
the
t-shirts and the national championship gear that gets distributed at Johns Creek High School. I mean, that to me, that is its own clothing line. I mean, that's what. Then you got to get the flag, because at the beginning of the 27 season, you got to raise the banner, and then you got to have the flag. It's like you'll have like at the flagpole, it'd be like what the American flag, then the national championship flag, and then if there's a Johns Creek or a City of Johns Creek flag from City Hall,
Georgia flag up there somewhere.
It's a very crowded flagpole come 27.
Yeah.
The championship banners and all that kind of stuff. But how hard is that?
I think we would be runaway number one had we not lost the one game against Alpharetta. I think we would, we'd probably be already settled. But we were number one for a while, and then we got passed, and then we went back to number one, and we've stayed number one in the nation for a while. To not make a mistake at some point or have a game go against us. Easily that Milton game could have gone against us. Wasn't our best game. The Milton coach, Coach Meenan, said it was their best game, so it was not a good night to have our worst game. Stuff like that, but surviving each one of those is pretty impressive and shows a lot of experience out of the boys. Because for the most part, we didn't have a game. And I think Maddie was talking about it, or Jason on the call. We didn't have a game, or we only had 2 or 3 games that were decided by 2 goals or less. Mm-hmm. So most games we won by 3 goals or more. So, we were pretty dominant during the season. That's obviously more a product of the players. We have a lot of quality players here at Johns Creek right now. But I felt like we did a good job getting them ready every game and telling them where the weaknesses were and what we needed to do to slow teams down. When we scored 110 goals this season and allowed 12, that's pretty impressive. So,
yes. I swear, every time you and I have conversations, mm-hmm. literally all the matches that we've been a part of, all I see is this Samak Leao highlight reel that blows through my brain each and every time. When you look at the lessons from 26, is there one lesson that you and the staff take from this season, from everything that was learned from a coaching perspective and an on-the-field perspective? Is there like one big lesson that you can file away in the Kelly Bowler coaching manual that's like, I'll remember this, for future reference?
I will tell you, I think one of the things that we've realized over the past few years during our runs is that you have to have a dominant center back to win a state title. Mm-hmm. We played against Sprayberry last year, and I thought, Sprayberry was right there, obviously, with River Ridge, and they had played each other twice during the season. Sprayberry won the first matchup and then lost the second one, even though they were up 2 goals with like 15 minutes to go. So Sprayberry was a very dominant team, and they had a very dominant center back. And at the end of our playoff run last year, Martin Sosa came to me and said, "Coach, just put me at center back so we can win a state title." He's the best 6 in the state, in my opinion. But he also had watched and learned and seen that, teams with dominant center backs really do come through. I look at Meadow Creek, watch their game, their center back, I think his name is Lola. Mm-hmm. He's a phenomenal center back, right? You have to have that. Even Walton had that, Alex Cook. To be able to get to that point, you have to have that dominant center back, and Martin Sosa, stepping back there and being that dominant center back, and to take nothing away from Daniel Wyborn, who was an exceptional partner for him too. You just have to have that to be able to win a state title. You have to have that person to rely upon when the games do get tight, when they are tough, when you are going against, an all-world striker, in the state of Georgia. You've got to have that guy. So that was one of the things that I definitely learned. Obviously, both my state finals runs have also been with a ton of seniors. You're only as good as your senior class, in my opinion. If your seniors are good and they're good leaders, you can go a long way. The year we went to the state final in 2021 and lost to Dalton, we had 9 seniors, and they were all just beasts. There were only like 3 or 4 ECNL players in it, but all of them had this mentality that nobody was going to beat them. And then this year I had 11 seniors, and they just all came together with the one goal to win a state title. So,
and you mentioned those seniors, and a lot of them, to me, to borrow the American football analogy, they come across as almost like offensive linemen. Mm-hmm. Where if you're talking about a Bennett Perot, you're talking about an Aravram Bia, mm-hmm. Caden, when he pops into the situation, obviously he's a sophomore in this, but you look at, you look at somebody like a Ryan Gottschalk, you mentioned Martin Sosa, and all of these dudes, a Jacob Barrett, a Hubert Keenanoff who comes in off the bench for you, Wyborn, who just kind of quietly goes about his business, Owen Tebby, who comes in as a sub and calms things down at the back.
Yep.
All of these dudes, all of them are seniors, but they're not the headline guys, but they were just as important in this run for you as that senior class to get this title this year.
You gotta have the guys that fill every role. Like not everybody's going to score goals and get assists. Arav was our 6, and pretty much every high school team in the state puts their best player at the 10. No matter what position they normally play, they'll throw them in there to the 10. So Arav, and he's only guested with ECNL teams. He's an ECRL player, but he is just relentless and he works tirelessly, and he just stuck to other teams attacking mids like glue. And twice he had to go against Bennett Van Gilder from River Ridge, who's an exceptional player. And both games, we won the first game 3-0, and then we won the second game 2-0. So Bennett didn't do anything against Arav, and he's a great player. So taking nothing away from that, that's just the job that Arav did. Bennett Perot, and I said this in an interview on Score Atlanta on their weekly show, their high school sports show. Mm-hmm. Bennett Perot is not a game-breaking player. He's not he's not Samak Liao, who's on the left. Bennett's on the right, and he's actually a center midfielder, but we played him on the right and told him to just invert and just come inside into the half spaces, which would allow Jacob Barrett, who in my opinion is the best outside back in the state, bar none, to get forward. And you see his stats, like those stats are unreal for an outside back. I think he's got like 6 goals, 7 assists, something like that. And he creates between Bennett and Jacob, he creates what we have on the left with Samak, and so you have to have those unsung heroes, those people that are in there that, aren't going to get all the attention, all the credit, aren't going to put up all the numbers, aren't going to make first team all region. But they did their job. Kubert had to start in the state final. He's had a few starts this year, but in the state final, he had his best game. He worked his tail off because he wanted to go out there and do his part to, help lock down a state championship for Johns Creek. So you've got to have those kids.
Super sub almost. He's like the microwave with Kubert kicking off. He comes in, you instantly you hit play, and it's all good to go.
Yep.
We have had this question on the noon show before, but I wanted to ask it in this purview. Mm-hmm. When it comes to the sport there and in the Johns Creek community, how has it grown in your time there at Johns Creek?
It's become, in my opinion, and probably nobody from other sports are going to listen to this anyway because it's a soccer show, but so I'm not going to offend anybody probably, but Johns Creek has become the marquee team sport at Johns Creek. We're the kind of, right now we're the kind of the model group. Our girls soccer team won a state title back in 2021. We went to the state final in 2021. We lost. We played back-to-back that day. And then our soccer program has been to the Final Four 3 times since then. And then we won a state title this year. And so now, our football team is having to rebuild. They're not great. They're having to rebuild. We got a new coach. He's doing a great job. Our basketball program had its best year ever, and got knocked out in the first round of the playoffs though. And so the soccer program is really setting the bar, both on the boys and the girls side, in my opinion. And so, soccer is a big thing up here. I mean, we've got clubs all around us. Atlanta Fire United is less than a mile away as the crow flies. Concord Fire North is up here. NASA Milton is up here. We've got UFA that's only a few miles away. We're kind of in a soccer hotbed up here. So, and that's why the Forsyth schools are always good. That's why the North Fulton schools are always good, because we've got club soccer all around us.
So then in your mind, what's the most important thing about high school soccer in the state of Georgia?
I saw your guys' article about it that you guys posted. I was kind of sad to be left out of it in there, but I think you're absolutely right. The high school soccer in this state, I think, is the most exciting thing around. Like if you went to those state final games, and that was kind of what the article was about, was the excitement in and around those state final games. I played against Dalton. Your article was mentioning how they packed the Duluth Stadium, which is an hour and 45 minutes from their school, and they packed it. I played Dalton in the state final at McEachern High School, and they showed up with 7 fan buses, like it was insane. I've never seen anything like that. And so I couldn't even hear. They had the benches at McEachern on the side with the fans. I couldn't hear myself think. And I was getting absolutely roasted the entire game by the fans, which was quite entertaining. But at the same time, I was trying to coach a game. And then we packed that place at Duluth. I mean, I know you weren't on the call for the Duluth or for our state championship game, but like our whole side was
I
packed.
was watching, brother.
Yeah, and we had a whiteout, and you could tell, like, our students came out and represented, and it is so exciting. And last year, our Final Four game against Sprayberry here, we sold more tickets for that than we did for any football game in the last 2 years. So it was one of the most packed events we've ever had in Johns Creek history. So this is like soccer. If the months of February and March weren't so cold occasionally, right, I think we would have fans all year. But by the time we get to the warm weather, it is absolutely like we start getting tons of students, tons of fans. We get into the playoffs. Our Habersham Central game had a ton of fans. Our Woodward game had a ton of fans. And then we went down to Decatur, and that place was packed too. You were at the Decatur game. It was so loud in there. So again, I think high school soccer is so much fun. I had Eden Gitman, who's my sophomore left back. And he plays NASA ECNL, right? And he came from UFA ECNL before that. He's like, Coach, I've never played in front of this many people in my life. Like, this is crazy. And I was like, and you probably never will. Unless you play on the national team or you play professionally, you're never going to play in front of crowds like this. You go to club games and it's just the parents on the sideline, and maybe a college coach or two. But there's no atmosphere or anything like that. So I do think high school soccer is, to me, the most exciting part of a high school player's career, because club soccer, while it's fun and while it's where they get recruited and, they travel all over the place, high school soccer has the environment that you just don't get anywhere else. So
your grand exalted poobah for soccer for a day here in the state of Georgia. You are standing on the highest mountain. You've got the crown, the scepter, the whatever, you got the cool robe with the velour and the leopard print trim and the whole thing.
Yeah.
Is there one thing you'd like to change or update about high school soccer here in the state of Georgia?
I don't know. I mean, I think it runs pretty well. I think the power rankings will probably help with the playoff matchups. Sometimes you end up playing teams in rounds where you're like, wait a second, this should be like a later round game. Our region, our region geographically kind of gets screwed every year because we're right in the middle of the northern part, right? So one year they send us west, so we get the Riverwood, Sequoia, River Ridge, region. So it's the two regions of death, in my opinion, have to play each other. And then this year they were like, okay, now you're going to go east and kind of south. And our first round matchup was against the Woodward, Decatur, Dunwoody, all that region. And I'm like, that's not like a prize, while and again, there's nothing they can do about it, but the River Ridge region got like Coffee and Lee County and like schools like that. And I'm like, that's not that to me. I would fix that, the playoff seeding. I would probably rank the teams 1 through 32, which I think in theory is what the power rankings are supposed to do. But I think that would make for a more true playoff, in my opinion, because you get teams knocked out early in the playoffs that probably shouldn't be, in my opinion. Last year's first round game against Sequoia, that team was very good. And we barely beat them. We beat them 1-0. And then we had to go to McIntosh. Then we had to go to Rome. That's, to me, that's just a brutal path for anybody to have to go through, while other teams are playing teams they're beating 8-9-0.
Yeah. We see that rota a lot where you're in quadrants and you're assigned, and then it rotates out, and you sit there and go, okay, that needs to be either a semifinal or a final, and it's in the quarters just to get out of that bracket.
Yeah.
Your 27 schedule, how's Creek Cup coming along?
Creek Cup has 16 boys teams in it, and 12 girls teams in it. In it are more than one state champion. I can tell you that right now, because Islands is back in it. They're in my bracket. I may regret this. And Greenbrier girls are in it. And then my team obviously is in it. So the Creek Cup is looking real good, real strong. We've got a lot of local teams in it. Milton, Chattahoochee, Northview, all their boys and girls are all in it. So it's turning into a very, very big thing. Silverbacks came back in as our sponsor again, Silverbacks Park. So they're going to come back in and sponsor us for the next 2 years. So we're super excited about that. And are very appreciative of Silverbacks Park for that. Just super excited about that. And then, I'm trying to play the PSR game. I won't make any secret about it. I'm scheduled most of my games on the road, to get bonus points for road games.
Okay.
I think we're only at home 7 times next year, and we're on the road for, or neutral for the other 11. So, it'll be a road heavy schedule, but it's the PSR game. You're trying to pick up the points. You're trying to get extra credit for getting, road games and wins on the road. I scheduled a weekend doubleheader where we'll go down and play Colquitt County on Friday night, and then the next day we'll play at Lee County. And so going on the road, trying to pick up wins, also trying to give the players an experience. I told them about it, and they were like, "Oh, that's awesome! An overnight trip, that'll be fun." We do that for a lot for club, but we don't do it a lot for high school outside of going to Jekyll every year. So they're kind of excited about that. So those kinds of things.
Okay, this is just me not knowing the answer to this. Mm-hmm. When you go down to Colquitt, do they play at the Hog Pen, or do they have a separate soccer field?
I don't know. So we were always confused. Like we had to play Valdosta in the playoffs a few years ago, actually back in 2021. And my coaches drove down to scout their game because they played the night after us in the playoffs. And at Valdosta, they don't play in their school stadium. They play in like the city stadium or something. And so they were in 2 different places and ended up having to, miss the first like 15 minutes of the game because they showed up in the wrong spot. I've never been to Colquitt County. This will be my first trip there. I've been to Lee County. I know they play in their amazing stadium, that's had a bunch of money put into their field house and stuff like that overlooks the stadium. So I think the kids will be pretty impressed by that. So it'll all be a pretty new experience for me. I've never made a road trip like this, during the season. So, but it's exciting for the kids. I try to change it up. I don't like to play the same teams over and over and over again and do the same things over and over and over again because it gets monotonous and the kids are like, oh, we're playing this team again. I want to play new people. I want to have new experiences, see new stadiums, that kind of stuff. So
my last question for you, and before I sign off with you, obviously we can't thank you enough for everything that we get to do that you and everybody there at Johns Creek lets us do. Basically, we get to hang out with you, and we can't thank you enough for that. When it comes to this World Cup thing, it's coming up in about a month. What do you want to see the impact and the legacy of the World Cup be once it goes away in 2 months' time?
I am concerned that the U.S. national team or the status of the U.S. national team is going to hurt what the impact could be. I'm not all that inspired by the team I cheer for the most, which is the U.S. national team lately. I'm hoping they do, they surprise us and they do more damage than they've looked like recently, but I'm not holding my breath, if that makes sense.
It does.
I think if we had, not only if we were hosting it, but if the U.S. made a deep run, that would have a profound impact on soccer in the United States. Now, that's not to say, we're a very international country. There's a lot of people here from different places. So it's going to be huge. I think the impact is still going to be, very big. I will tell you, like, what brought me back into soccer was 1994's World Cup. It really brought me back into it. I had kind of faded in my love of it. And then I was all back in, and never left it after that point. And so I feel like the World Cup can have a very, very big impact on young kids, and can really inspire them and make them excited for the game and make them love and appreciate the game. I wish we had better soccer specific stadiums. I don't love the football stadiums for soccer. It's never the most perfect environment, but it is what it is. And I think it'll be pretty amazing. I have World Cup tickets, but I had to buy the cheapest ones. I'm not very rich. So I had to buy the Uzbekistan Congo game here in Atlanta, but it's a World Cup game. So, is what it is. It may not be, Messi or Ronaldo, but is what it is.
Sicko's Delight, DR Congo and Uzbekistan on the 27th of June. That one's going to be a fun one at Atlanta Stadium. And obviously, we're looking forward to it. Where'd you go to high school, by the way?
I went to Glendale High School in Springfield, Missouri. So, I went to Missouri State in Springfield. So,
okay.
Yep.
Now it makes sense with all the Missouri State.
All the Missouri State tweets. Yeah, sorry. Okay. You gotta live through that if you follow me on Twitter.
Yes, I was. It's like, what's the connection? Now I know.
Yeah. I was born and raised a Missouri State fan, so it's in my blood. So,
and I imagine that you probably go to their bowl games when it comes.
I was trying to go to their bowl game. It didn't happen, but I wanted to go. I wanted to go badly, but they did lose. So I'd probably been very furious by showing up.
Get out of the way!
I'm driving all the way to Frisco, Texas to watch them lose.
Yeah. So. As always, my friend, it's great to see you.
No, I greatly appreciate everything you guys do. You always have me on. You guys follow Creek Cup. You broadcast Creek Cup. You broadcast a lot of games over the last few years. I really appreciate everything you guys do. So thank you so much.
Wait, is he here? Oh, he's here. Oh, actually, hang on. Where is it?
What's up?
See. Oh, since you were talking about that particular tournament that you're hosting, our next guest, by the way, is the guy in your bracket.
That's my guy,
Brantley.
What's up, Coach? How are you?
How you doing, man? Mr. Brantley texted me the day of his state championship game, and he said we got to both bring home our first state championships. He texted me that very thing, right. And then he went out and beat up on East Hall, and then the next night I turned around and beat River Ridge, and we both brought him home. So I appreciated the encouraging text.
Absolutely, man. It's been a long journey. I feel like since our trip up north, but man, it's been an exciting one for sure.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Well, Kelly, as always, thanks, my friend. We will catch up with you soon, and we'll definitely be knocking on your door pretty quick.
Congrats, Brantley.
Good to see you, Coach. Yeah, you as well.
All right, there goes Kelly Bowler, hot tag to Justin Brantley out of Islands, and yeah, we were talking Creek Cup and schedules and things, and he said, yeah, I was piecing together the boys' side of Creek Cup for 27, and Islands is in my bracket, and I think he was instantly ruining that decision. So, like I said, we were getting a little bit of intel on that. We're catching up with the championship coaches across the board. My first question to you, sir, is where is the trophy?
It is already in the trophy cabinet at our school. We are actually the day after. Well, so Tuesday was obviously the state championship game. Wednesday, we didn't get back in until I didn't get back to my house until 5 a.m. So long night. And so the next day we had off, which was that Wednesday. Thursday rolled around, and I get a text. We have to be at school at 7 o'clock. I get a text from our athletic director at like 8:30. And he's like, hey, come down to the gym real quick. I need to see you. And so I walked down there, and he's cleared out the entire trophy cabinets. And he's like, we're a soccer school now. And so the front, right as you walk into the gym, it was kind of a mixed match of all different trophies. And now there is a soccer specific cabinet, and it is front and center. So
what's that like?
Man, it's been incredible. It's been incredible. It's been absolutely rewarding for sure on my part. I told the boys before the game. I actually kind of mentioned it last night as well. When I became a coach or decided to become a coach right in college, me and my brother used to go to the games, and I remember specifically one year we went to Kennesaw State, and we saw a few games. I do remember McIntosh playing Houston County in the state championship game. But, just talking to him, and I was like, man, it would be so much fun just to be in one of these games. Like, not even thinking that was in the realm of possibility, right? Because everybody says they want to be in one, but to actually be in one, to be able to compete, to watch our boys, play their hearts out and really do everything that we've talked about doing at a high level was very, very rewarding. So.
And you get to do that and basically go into the books for Chatham County. And it's like, first ever.
Yeah.
And, has that sunk in any way that you are the first ever to do that through Islands as that vehicle?
It is not. Again, moving down here, working at Windsor Forest for a few years and then at Islands, I've always looked up to when I was at Windsor, I looked up to a program like Islands, right? And you look at all the success that they had and the time that they had it, and you never really realize that it's never been done before until you get so close. And it's like, all right, we're at a Final Four now. Well, we've never, passed this mark. So let's try to make that history. But yeah, just being able to be the first is incredible. It absolutely has not sunken in yet, nor has the state championship. I don't know if it ever will. But now it's on to the next year, I guess.
Well, I mean, you can do that after we finish talking. You just hang on to it for about another, 14 minutes or so.
All right. Sounds good.
When you look back at that game, how many times have you seen the game since you got back, or since the game is over and you've gotten the trophy and everybody got back on the bus and did whatever? How many times have you watched the match from beginning to end since you got home?
In full, probably 6. Wow. In other parts, probably more than that. Yeah, I could probably tell you specific marks where Jason Longshore mentions certain things in the broadcast, and everybody's like, "Hey, how do you know that?" I'm like, "Well, I might have watched it a time or two." Thursday and Friday, most of my classes are senior classes, and I have like 1 or 2 juniors in those classes. And so, for the past week, hold on 1 second.
Yeah. Somebody's walkie-talkie's going nuts.
Radio going crazy. But yeah, so, I had like 1 or 2 juniors in my class. And so, the past week we've just had it playing on the screen, and I've just constantly, just every few minutes, I'm like, all right, hold on. Oh, goal. All right. And then let's get back to our normal daily part of the class. But yeah, it's been fantastic. It's been fantastic.
What did you think, looking at it these 6 times after the game itself? What did you think about that first 40 minutes?
As a coach, you're still like looking at parts and you're like, man, we should have done a little bit better here. Like there's spots where, I specifically had, one of my kids, Andrew, in class the other day. And I was like, yes, we scored at this specific spot, but what could you have done better, right? Like what are some things that we still left on the table? And there were numerous opportunities where, there's still coaching to be had, spots that I felt like we could have been better at. But yeah, it's really hard to, be too negative in the fact that, hey, you came away with a 4-0, first half. And then the second half kind of continued that with adding 2 more on. So not too much to be concerned with, but yeah, just again, it was awesome, rewarding, and loved every aspect of it.
What did you and the staff learn about yourselves in this run to a state championship this season?
Just to be who we are. Last night we had this fun little kind of watch party back at Coach's Corner. Coach's Corner did a great job of, playing the game for a lot of people here. I reached out to John, the owner, and he said, hey, what would be a great idea is if we could have like a watch party for all the parents who were at the game and the players. So last night at 7:30, we turned the game on and had everybody out there, and they cleared out the outdoor area. We were able to watch the game back. We had the broadcast playing. And then we kind of did our end of the year banquet with that, because normally, we never make this long run, right? So the end of the year banquet is already set in stone. Well,
last change periods. Here we go.
Couldn't really do that because we're in the middle of a state title run. So it was a fantastic event last night, and I forgot your question. I'm kind of rambling the bill.
No, it's just what you learned about yourselves as a staff.
Oh, yeah. But so at the end of the year banquet, I mentioned this as well. Going into the state championship game on Tuesday, I had numerous coaches call me, hey, this is what you should do. This is what you should, anticipate. And so I, taking all that in while at the same time trying to be who we are. And so, we get there at Duluth, and I'll just say it wasn't the most ideal locker room that we were set in. And so I was like, well, so our players could be in here for 2 hours and they could spend the entire time realizing how important this game is and just kind of get super focused in that. Or I could treat it as a normal game, right? Where we go outside, we watch the girls' game, and we just have a good time. And so that's what we did. I talked to my assistant coach, and we were like, hey, let's go ahead and just make this an enjoyable atmosphere for the boys. Let's make it to where, they're not super focused on the task at hand, but actually having fun. And so instead of being in the locker room for 2+ hours and really focusing on that, we got there at 4. We hung out for maybe 30 minutes. We went outside and we watched the girls' game, and the boys absolutely loved it. They're sitting in the stands, obviously cheering on both teams, having a blast. There were 2 separate occasions where, GHSA representatives were like, hey, y'all probably want to go in the locker room, get prepared for your game. And I'm like, well, our kids are a little bit different. That's probably not going to be a deal for them. So we stayed in the stands, and, per usual, we're up there, chanting, hollering, and having a blast. And I think that helped really calm the nerves, really allow them to have fun while at the same time kind of soaking in the atmosphere that they're going to experience those next few hours. And then, the same thing with our warm-up. Our warm-ups are usually 45 minutes. And so we get out there and we do the normal kick around, the joking around, the nothing really changed. And I think that allowed us to play free at the very beginning. And, I told them we're not looking for a perfect game. We're looking for an Islands game. We're looking for us to play the best soccer that we know how. And that's obviously going to come with mistakes, but it's par for the course. Just continue to be positive, and we'll go from there.
Yep, and you had a game ahead of yours that went for a while. It went longer than the standard 80, so you could have gone in, 10 minutes to go in regulation. You've still been sitting there for 30 or 40 minutes and all that stuff. Yep. Marcia Thompson coming up in about 7 minutes. We'll find out what's going on at Trion. So then let me ask you this. Since you came up from Windsor Forest and you're now there at Islands, how has the sport grown there in the Islands community since you first showed up?
Yeah, I mean, so I actually reached out to the former coach that was here before me, Dante Casagrande. He actually moved to the Pacific Northwest in Seattle. Wife got a job, so he took that job, or he went with her. And I reached out, and he was like, "Hey, congratulations, man, that's awesome." And we were talking back and forth, and he was like, "I'm assuming like the school grew in size, like how's things looking?" And I was like, "Well, actually, just the opposite. Our school was roughly 1,100 kids. We're now sitting at a little below 700. So our enrollment has dropped considerably. But that doesn't change the fact that our kids have bought in. I've talked to a few different people, right? And I think somebody mentioned this on Twitter, X. I think Jason Longshore mentioned, how grassroots soccer has become, or high school soccer has become really a grassroots thing for the United States. And that's so true in our area. I mean, there are so many kids at our school that have played club, but still don't play club because they, see more value in high school soccer. Not that it's, better or worse. It's just they value the high school game. Specifically the 4 guys on our back line, 3 of them no longer play club. They just solely play high school. And so, it's very difficult at the beginning of the year because you get kids that haven't touched the ball in 3 or 4 months that come into your program, and you're like, all right, well, we got to start from day one, making sure we get touches every single day, Monday through Friday, as best as we can. But yeah, they buy into the role that they have. They really, play collectively together, and it's panned out very, very well for us.
When you look at high school soccer, what do you think the most important thing is about high school soccer here in the state?
The connectivity, for sure. When I always think of, my years at first at Henry County Thunder at the time, I mean, it changed numerous names. It was Southern Crescent Soccer Club, then it was Henry County Thunder, and then, I ended up having to move clubs because we didn't have enough guys try out that next year. So I went to AFC Lightning and played there for 2 seasons while my brother was at RISA. So it was kind of weird that, I'm playing in Fayetteville, my brother's playing in Rockdale. But, we always looked at club as very competitive, but not as fun, right? It was more of a job, right? You had really tough competition, but you never really got to play with the guys that you grew up with. Whereas with high school, I went to Eagles Landing Middle, then I went to Eagles Landing High. And so every single guy that I played with, I've known since I was 11, 12 years old. And so we grew up together, playing. And it was always so much more fun to me. Well, now it's kind of the same thing with these kids, is where they look at high school as really a connective family, right? And that's one thing that we've bought into. And, I had a coach come out one day just to watch practice. And he was like, man, this is absolutely not how we run our practices. He was like, but I could tell that y'all are all connected. It is really like a fraternity. There's hazing, there's a good hazing in terms of like, it doesn't matter if you're a senior or an upperclassman, you're always going to pick on the freshman, despite the fact that the freshman could be, one of the best starters on the team, and the senior might not have any minutes. The senior is going to always take priority over the freshman and pick on them, and that's just kind of how it has been. So, that's been an enjoyable thing. Just a collective group of guys buying in for one common vision. So then,
is there one thing that you would either change or update about high school soccer here in the state?
Or
is it completely totally hunky-dory as it is?
I think it's great. I think it definitely could be improved. I think with success becomes or increases the support around high school soccer. My first few years, we didn't get the buy-in from the MLS Next guys. We didn't get the buy-in from the Tormenta guys, right? It was not really a high priority for a lot of those guys. And now I think we're hoping to see a kind of a change in that, to where, the programs can work hand in hand with one another, and, see that, hey, we both can have the success, right? We can see that success for the high school level as well as at club level, if we work together and kind of share those athletes. So again, that's kind of the vision. I hope it continues in that direction.
Well, as always, it's great to see you and great to catch up with you and find out about what's going on over on the coast. We can't thank you enough for this past season. We're going to be knocking on your door sooner than you know, because there is no off season anymore, and Creek Cup will be just around the corner, and everything will be up and running in 27. Congratulations.
Thanks, sir.
Can't thank you enough for everything that you do with us here at SDH and being one of those Eastern voices for us. We will catch up with you soon, my friend. Now you can start thinking about next year.
All right, man. I appreciate it. And thank you for all that you do for high school soccer, man. It definitely doesn't go unnoticed. So we appreciate everything you do.
Thanks, Justin. We'll see you soon.
All right,
Justin Brantley, the head coach at Islands. All right. So I'm going to go like maybe 30 seconds early. Why not? It's not quite – I was going to filibuster to the top of the hour, but I figure why not? 10:59 and something. So it's time to go to Trion and catch up with Marcia Thompson. My first question for you, where is the trophy?
How about right? Right here it is. Actually, our banquet's coming up, so I've got it in my office. It rode in my car overnight that one night. It's too heavy to take in that day. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, look, this is y'all are going to have to come to me first to see if you can touch this thing. Does everybody have to use like white gloves? If it's not you or the team or anything, do they have to wear like the stock white gloves to touch it? That constant shining.
Not that many people have even touched it. We were at a huge parade when we got back, and everybody touched it there. We had fireworks. We had all the emergency vehicles in the world meet us at the state line. It was awesome. So
wow.
Yeah, that's exactly what my other two coaches, we were on the bus coming in. They were like, wow, just wow. And I was like, yep, that's how we do it.
Mm-hmm. And I do want to get into that as we go here, but I want to talk about the match, since we didn't get the chance to talk about the match after. You and I talked off camera, but we didn't get the chance to talk on camera about it. And when Luke Winstall and I were on the call upstairs, you could tell in the first half that the heat was getting to both teams.
Wow.
And it was in the 80s, and you're in that bowl, and everything is just beaten down on you. And so you're adding maybe 10 degrees to actual temperature and things like that. How much of a challenge was it to navigate the heat in an environment that you were trying to win a championship in, and you've got this large external factor hundreds of millions of miles away that's creating all these issues?
I mean, it was huge for us because we don't play on turf. I mean, we play on natural grass. Yeah. So, I mean, my athletic trainer actually said there was almost a 20 degrees difference there on the field. And I mean, clearly I subbed more than I normally would. I mean, some of that was an offensive defensive thing. That's a couple times, but some of it was just strictly to sit you down, put a penny that had been in the cooler around your shoulders and give you a little Gatorade and get you back in. But it was a huge factor. I think our fans did a really good job settling the Irwin. I mean, I think they kind of matched each other up. They're both, and so that was helpful to us. I was a little concerned when we let them score first because we had not given up a goal the whole playoffs. And the other goals we had given up were to Model and Northwest and Bremen. And so learning, but my kids, once we went another 10 minutes, I was like, okay, they're not going to let that affect them. We're still playing well. It was a tough matchup.
Yeah. When you see what Coach Brunell has done in building Irwin County and getting them to there, and what you've been doing and building to Trion, I figured that this was going to be, and I'm going to date myself with this reference. I've told folks, I said, look, this is going to be a 15-round heavyweight fight. I don't care what anybody says.
Absolutely.
Now they're 10 rounds and 12 rounds, and I'm like, what is this? Yeah. But it was going to be a 15-round heavyweight fight. When you were down a goal,
right.
And what were the conversations like to make sure that it's like, we got 40 minutes, everything's fine.
Right.
We'll navigate all these other external things, but you're down a goal. What were the conversations like?
I mean, at halftime, that was the conversation. We watched them. I mean, like the seniors watched us. We watched them play Screven at my house. So we had seen them play. I felt like they were going to get a little more tired than we did the second half from what we had seen. Of course, that's the only game we saw because it was blacked out otherwise, which is fine. But I mean, like, that's what we were pumping them up. Look, we're staying hydrated. We're getting y'all in and out, blah, 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 blah. We're still in charge here. Were we in charge? No, but that was our speech. And somehow they buy in and they go out thinking we're good. And then Alec, but we had so many opportunities, so many, through balls, long breakaways, and just kick it to the keeper, kick it over the top bar. But they did too. I mean, like our keepers, both keepers did a great job. You got to give them to that.
No doubt. And the keeper for Irwin dealing with the leg injury late in the first half, and then navigating it through the second half, having to give up goal kick duties and things like that.
Yeah, she did a great job.
And they got a lot of folks coming back. So my 27 spot shadow already has a blue team and a red team that I saw in Thomaston. I'm kind of leaning toward those.
I am losing 7 seniors, but I started 5 freshmen. So that was good. I give the shout out to my middle school coach, but they came up ready to play.
When you look at this group of 7 seniors, what sticks in your mind the most?
Just their growth. They have, even from last year to this year, their leadership on our team was huge. Like if they would say something and everybody was just like, oh, okay, yeah, we can do this. We're okay, or especially back there with that defense, my one senior, Emma Mart's buddy, she could look at them and they knew what they had to do. And so she just kind of held down the fort back there and they listened.
What was the biggest lesson that you and the coaching staff learned about this year?
Wow. I don't know that it's okay to lose, to be in some games and to lose and to learn something from that and to pass that on to them. Losing is awful. Don't get me wrong. We didn't enjoy it. But if you're gaining something out of it, then you're winning. In the long run, when you're doing that in the regular season where it doesn't matter a hill of beans, but you're gaining something for when you get to the big game, to know that you can come behind, or that you know that your stamina is going to be there. And I think, I mean, that clearly helped us get through that game, because there at the end, I mean, my Allie Hudgens, I'd never taken her out of a game ever. Like, she didn't know what to do when she went back to the line. I was like, Mr. Official, I'm sorry, she's not been out of a game. But I thought she was going to pass out. So we got her over a couple minutes, gave her a little more Gatorade, and got her back in, and she was able to take care of business.
Yeah, that was one of the things that you could tell, that when you took Allie out,
right,
she was walking.
Yeah, barely.
And that was it. It's like,
yes.
Like, I'm just walking and I'm taking my time. I know that I only have X amount of time to actually get off the field,
right,
but I'm not doing this in a hurry. She was in the mud. Her tires were spinning, and it was
yes, they were.
To see her, and then to go over and get the treatment that she was getting.
Yes.
Obviously, in the back of my head, I'm going, okay, I got to keep an eye on this. I've got to, I'm concerned about this, and let's see where it goes. But I think it speaks to, once again, you mentioned all of those freshmen, and you mentioned all of the other players that were there to help you out. Where if Allie is out, it's like emergency break glass, smash, and then you bring out the axe and the fire extinguisher, and then you got it covered, right?
I mean, we just kept trying to sub in and out, try to make sure things were going to be okay, and she was going to be okay. I mean, and Bailey Blair was kind of the same way. After the game, I pretty much was holding her up. Of course, she weighs like 2 pounds. She's got some long legs, and she's got some speed. But, I mean, like, I was just holding her up. She was like, Coach, we did it. But she just couldn't hardly stand up. I'm like, we did it, baby. We're good.
How many different sports have you coached there at Trion?
I started out coaching high school softball.
Mm-hmm.
Then I coached high school tennis,
mm-hmm.
middle school basketball,
mm-hmm.
back to softball. And then, honestly, I started out as the soccer bus driver because my oldest daughter played. And Rachel Edge was the coach, and I started bus driving. And then I was her assistant coach because she needed an assistant. And to me, soccer is basketball with your feet. I mean, if you really think about it, you're looking for the open lanes, you're taking shots, it really is pretty much that. So then now it's just soccer, and I love it.
Well, and I was having this discussion, in the booth, and I was noticing, to your point, that you were treating those possessions as offense, defense, because you could bring in your faster, smaller players to help you out when you had possession, to help build up and go from left to right in the second half. But then when you needed the taller center backs and the taller outside backs to help you out, as Irwin County is chasing after that equalizer with all of that speed and all of that height, I started. The light kind of came on.
You're like, wait a minute, this isn't basketball, but
that's how I was looking. It's like I was going. What she's doing is she's doing offensive for defensive substitutions when she's got the ball or when she doesn't. The light kind of came on for me about navigating the heat, and then offense for defense, because you saw what Irwin County was doing early in the first half that created the goal opportunities, and then obviously the goal where they took advantage of. A height mismatch.
Yes, and absolutely.
To take the shot and go far post to get the lead. So I was like, okay, she's addressing this. Okay. So for a novice soccer guy like me, the light came on, and I was like, okay, I see what she's doing here.
Yeah, and and it was for both. It was for heat, and it was for offense, defense. Just because we couldn't give up another goal. I just knew we couldn't give up another goal, and I was getting really. Until we got that second goal. I didn't feel like we were going to lose, but I thought, I do not know if we have it in us to go 2 10 minutes. 2 more 10 minutes. We were getting tired. They were getting tired. We were all, I was worn out, and all I did is pace up and down the sideline. So, it was, and we did switch up into a little bit more defensive. I did take Bailey Blair out that time and say, okay, you've got 25. We cannot give up a goal. Stay with her.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, "Oh, is that what you were yelling at me, Coach?" "Yes, Bailey, that's what I was yelling at you."
So. How has the sport grown there in Trion since you've been the bus driver?
Since I've been the bus driver, a tremendous amount. I mean, like our high school, and it was and it's really the sport. And that's what I try to tell these kids. The sport has grown enough that we can be in a division where we belong. Because like when all my kids were playing, we would end up in the playoffs because we were better than the teams around us. But when we would go to the playoffs, okay, guys, now, I mean, because I don't lie to you. I'm not going to say, oh, we could go in and win this thing. I mean, we went to Fellowship Christian. I was like, if we can make it till halftime without getting mercy ruled, we've won. I mean, in the big scheme of things. And we almost made it. We went to a 20-minute half, and then we made it to the second half. But that's the kind of thing. So the sport in itself has grown enough that we can play people that are on our same level. And that's huge. And around here, there's a lot of soccer that goes on. Our rec department got a grant, and they've got a nice, I mean, like it's not concrete, but not a grass turf out there. I mean, a place where you can play even when it's horrible weather. So, I mean, like it's grown leaps and bounds. And I can't go anywhere without getting a good congratulations right now. I took my daughter's dog to the vet, and I had 3 people, "Coach, great job." I was like, "Thank you." Called out at church, and I go to church in Rome, so it's nice. It's wonderful. It really is.
So then what do you think the most important thing is about high school soccer here in the state of Georgia?
I just think, I mean, like just the camaraderie ship. I mean, like we're a team. I know that there's like 2 of my kids that play club ball, and they're like, it's just not the same, Coach. I mean, like, yes, we're trying to win games, but it's not like we're doing it for our school and everybody's so excited for us. And, everybody's behind us. A fan bus comes to the game to support us. I mean, like, that's awesome. That's what high school soccer is all about.
So then if you were the person in charge of the sport for a day, if you got to the highest point there at the high school, stood on that rooftop,
oh wow,
and you were the one who was in charge of the sport in the state of Georgia for a day, you get the crown, the scepter, the robe, the whole thing.
Wow.
If there was one thing you'd like to change or update about high school soccer in Georgia, what would it be?
Wow. I have no idea. I mean, I'm so pleased with where we are. And it's because I was way back there when I was the bus driver to here. I mean, like, I feel like we're on such much more of a level playing field. Now, I think it's changing up again. I think I'm going back to some private schools in my area. I've not looked. I'm not even going there yet. The boys coach has gone there because he's already emailed me a couple times. No, but so much better than where we were. And no, I should never be pleased. But right now, I'm pleased from what we've come from to where we are.
I mean, you're a newly minted state champ. You get to enjoy it for at least
That's right. I am. Of course, I'm trying to get together a banquet. I bribed my seniors not to go stay out all night on senior prank night. So I got to take care of that little bribery. And I got a few things to do. And seniors are already gone. They're not in school. I've just got a couple kids taking some tests. So we're just trying to finish up the end of the year and make it special. I mean, it's hard to. This is special.
And I know that we've talked about it before, but I know that you're looking to, after the World Cup break, come down to Atlanta Stadium and see the soccer team that's currently inhabiting that.
Absolutely. Always a bell. Sorry.
No, it's all good. No, I lived through it, and I lived through it in the DeKalb County school system. I know exactly what's going on.
There you go.
We got another 5 minutes before another one.
Okay.
If memory serves, they give you that 5 minutes to get between classes, then the second one comes in, and then you get rushed to class, or you get a slip.
Yeah.
With NWSL Atlanta 2028 coming, with the NWSL franchise coming to town,
right.
When that word hit and the announcement hit, what went through your head?
Wow, how great is this? Look at what we're growing everywhere. I mean, like, that's awesome. I just can't wait.
So then there's this World Cup thing that's happening in like a month.
I don't know if I really want anywhere near that. If you want, I'm kidding.
Well, you'll watch it on TV.
I might watch that on TV. Hey, let's have a watch party, guys.
I mean, that's one way to celebrate, what's going on. If you want, the impact and the legacy of the World Cup, if you think about that, what would you want to see the impact and the legacy be with this World Cup thing?
Just continue the growth. I mean, like, look at how many people are watching just because it's the World Cup. It's everywhere. That's all you see. Anyway, I went in the store the other day to buy my grandson some new Nike socks. Well, here's this whole pack, and it's the World Cup. They're all USA, so of course I had to buy those.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, how amazing! Then everywhere you go, there's something about the World Cup, and it's right here, that close to us, that we can be a part of it, and it just continues to grow. Have you figured out your designer yet for the championship gear and the rings? I did get a thing. We're a BSN school. I got some shirts and sweatshirts and all that. I've got a thing on last night. Okay. Rings we're supposed to talk about one day this week. My principal actually has 4 rings from wrestling. So I went and looked at his. I was like, oh, that might be a little too big for me. That was kind of like, drag your hand to the ground. Anyway, I don't know. I might could do that. But so we're talking about it. We have not gotten to the ring selection yet. But you got to the gear selection. And you're yes. Okay. Oh, yes. Just checking because I know I got to add that to my stacks. Well, we got introduced. It was our spring game on Saturday night. So we all got to go out on the field and they recognized us. So we had all our state championship shirts on from GHSA. Mm-hmm. That felt pretty good too. So we're a little town, but we do it upright. That's as always. It's great to see what you're doing there on the FUTBOL side. Like I said, I know what Coach is doing on the FOOTBALL side. Yes. I can't thank you enough for hanging out with us and letting us continue to share your story all season long. We're going to be keeping an eye on you because everything's coming up sooner than you know. But enjoy the championship and don't think about reclass or anything like that for at least. I'm going to let that go for a few more days. Thank you for everything you do. Thanks, Coach.